Good morning, everybody! Like most of you, I have jumped into the Hardcore League and I've been having an absolute blast. But there's a couple things we have to ask ourselves. Is the Hardcore League really good? Am I really having fun? You see, the Hardcore League is very similar to the regular gameplay style in that you kind of just play DDO. You get to level 20, you get to level 30, you farm out items, you take different classes, you muck about with your enhancements. But the big difference is that when you die, you get set back to zero. You lose everything. Now, obviously, being able to be set back to zero upon death is kind of a pretty big shift from the regular gameplay style. Generally, when you play Dungeons & Dragons Online, you kind of just go through the quest hoping that you won't die because it would cause you to have some type of setback. But realistically, if you do end up dying, it's not the end of the world because maybe you just restart the quest, maybe you can get to a shrine, maybe you have somebody else who can pick up your stone or raise you from the dead, or maybe you just happen to have a black blade of Jack Gibbers in your backpack to be able to keep going and pick yourself up. The Hardcore League, however, provides a totally different challenge in that if you happen to die from a nasty trap or lagging out in the game, all of a sudden your experience is over and you need to start all over again. So the first question I want to ask is why? Why do we have the Hardcore League in the first place? Well, for context, if you haven't been playing Dungeons & Dragons Online that often, or you don't frequent the forums, it has been something that's been asked for a very, very long time. In fact, a lot of people play permadeath anyway, forming what they call permadeath guilds, in which when you join the guild, you start with a level 1 character, and then there are many rules that you have to follow during your time playing in the guild. One of the most important rules is that if you die, you are no longer allowed to play. I believe they have a lot of different rules about resurrections and other things. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to be very honest. I don't know much about it because it's something that hasn't interested me to play and like enforce my own rules. I'm much more a bigger fan of when the game actually enforces the rules, and one of the reasons why is because if I choose when I have to restart and I choose when my character resets, well, maybe I just choose not to reset my character. Maybe I just decide I'd like to stay alive. I'd like to keep playing, or well, no, I wasn't playing with anybody, so no one saw that death. I don't really want to start over. It's very easy to convince yourself of these things, and that's one of the reasons why I like the fact that the Hardcore League actually makes it so that if you do die, there's no choosing and there's no going back. Those are the consequences that you now have to face. But this is something that has been asked for a very long time by the community. A policed system in which it allows you to really shine on your skills and knowing all about the game, trying to stay alive, and having a balanced party to get through everything. So we've established that a lot of people have wanted this for a long time, but what really is the Hardcore League? What is it like when you're on the inside? Well, it's really similar to live. When you're on the regular servers and you're just playing around, it's kind of the same thing if you make yourself a first life character. You don't have any tomes, you don't have any past lives, you don't have any equipment, you don't have any money, and so you're just kind of running around trying to pick up anything that you can. The big difference is, on the regular servers, if you happen to enter in a low-level quest and find yourself face-to-face with the Kobold Shaman, that lightning bolt coming towards you, it might kill you, but restarting a hardware quest doesn't really take too long and it's not too much of a sacrifice. However, if you end up dying in the Hardcore League, well, now you gotta do Korthos Island again, and a whole bunch of other places. So it has a bit of a different experience. Since you have no tomes or past lives really to speak of, it also means you have to make sure your builds are capable to go right off the start. A lot of people that started Reaper mode when it first came out had a lot of tomes and past lives. So when you enter into that difficulty setting, yes, it is hard, and yes, the Reapers are pretty scary, but when you already have an extra 40 hit points at level 1 and plus 3 to hit and damage and all sorts of crazy additional stats, as well as all the different items you've accumulated over time to help you and all the gear, it definitely takes away a lot of that challenge to play Reaper mode during the leveling process. The Hardcore League is not like that at all. Instead, it's only challenge because you have to make sure not only do you have to gear yourself, but you can't rely on having any type of latent power within your character. You don't have any past lives. You don't have any tomes. If you would like to take 2-weapon fighting, you need to make sure you've got that dexterity requirement. If you want to take all of the ranged feats like improved precise shot, you need that dexterity requirement. There are a lot of Inquisitives in the Hardcore League, which means you need a lot of dexterity to make sure you can get improved precise shot. A 19 to be exact, but most Inquisitives are playing as an intelligence or wisdom-based build, which means you have to spend a lot of points to get that dexterity and then go into your wisdom or your intelligence, which means you kind of lack on either spellcasting or trap finding or whatever it is. The splits make it a little bit more difficult to play, but also I find it kind of brings you down to earth. It's very grounding. You get the experience of just starting over again from nothing. And I think honestly that's what a lot of people wanted. When you have all of the gear and all the past lives, it's like that hamster wheel where you just kind of run over and over and over. Okay, what life am I going to do now? Okay, what item am I going to farm out for? What gear am I getting? Whereas here, when you just start a new character, it's all about the adventure and the excitement. Oh, okay, what ability am I going to take? Wow, look at this random item that I just found. I wonder how powerful this can be. I wonder how this is going to enhance my character. Or the excitement you find when you see an item with a prefix and a suffix of things that you want, like a set of bracers at level 10 that say, oh, they're hardy and they've got strength on them. So they've got strength and constitution bracers, and then when you put your mouse over it, they tell you that they've also got insightful physical resistance rating as well. Wow, that's amazing. That genuine feeling of not having a whole lot and then just being able to work from nothing is really fun, and it's something that I've enjoyed quite a lot on the hardcore server. Grouping is also a lot easier on this server. People want to play together. You would be amazed by the number of players who just don't know what to do when they encounter traps. I've been playing a lot of hardcore server, and last night I ended up doing a quest called Slavers of the Shrieking Mines. And while I was inside that quest, we encountered some traps. I didn't really know how to disable it because I was playing Ranger, but I could get through it because I had evasion. The rest of my party, unsure of how to disable the trap or do anything, just waited, and I ended up doing most of the quest. It's really crazy to think that there's a lot of people who just, once they encounter a trap, normally they would just kind of brute force it and hope that they live and have somebody raise them on the other side. But now, on the hardcore league, you can't just get raised on the other side. And if you don't have somebody who can accurately disable something, it kind of might mean the end of your quest or the end of your quest experience. As a result, clerics, favorite souls, those healers are loved, keeping them alive, turning undead, and also doing their best to crowd control and remove the enemy monsters. Also, all of the amazing rogues and artificers who are able to disable so many traps for the populace, especially the rogues who have evasion, who are able to get through most of the traps and then get in and disable them so people can move past them. Or if you just happen to play as a Warforged artificer who has a million life, you can probably get through it fine too. Overall, the hardcore experience just adds a level of depth to all of the gameplay and makes it a little bit more exciting in each and every moment, especially if you're planning on playing on Reaper mode. With Reapers having a increase in all of their stats, it makes every encounter that much more scary. Now, you spend some time on the hardcore server. Maybe you've played yourself a cleric or a rogue helping some people out, but what do you get for it? What's the reward for the hardcore server? Well, there's a whole bunch of different rewards. There's 5 of them to be exact. The first is a fantastic cloak. The cloak comes from getting to level 20. It's neat. It's really minimalistic. It's something a lot of people have liked. A lot of cloaks in Dungeons & Dragons Online are these bulky squares, and this one just kind of gives you this cool thing to work off of that works with a lot of different outfits. So, fantastic cloak for getting to level 20. The next set of rewards is based on your favor. You get 1750 favor, you get the bloody eyes, and for 5000 favor, you get the bloody footprints. I think that both of these rewards look pretty cool. The bloody eyes are interesting, but they don't work on Azamar for some reason, so I don't know what that's about. The bloody footprints, unfortunately, I haven't been able to actually acquire them, but apparently only your character can see them, which is kind of disappointing. It's nice to be able to show off your accomplishment, so it would have been better if all players would have been able to see your bloody footprints, as opposed to just being a client-side effect. Also, the reward for bloody footprints comes at getting 5000 favor, and if you haven't ground out 5000 favor before, well then you're in for a treat, because it is very long and very difficult. There's just so many different quests that you have to do. You need access to Ravenloft, you need access to Sharn, you need access to so many different quests, doing some challenges, doing some raids, and even if the quests themselves may not be individually difficult, simply the amount of time that you need to put into it is very, very high to achieve this challenge. It is something that I personally am not very interested in, because I don't really care too much about getting 5000 favor. I find that after I grinded out all of the quests for the super experience point chart, so I could know exactly how much experience there was in each quest in the game, the idea of going back and doing that a second time, it just isn't very appealing to me. I know which quests I like and I'm happy that I get to do them. Now for this league, I'm going to be doing the 5000 favor reward because, well, at the end of the day, I want to get that reward too, and there's a leaderboard for it, so I want to be able to get up there. But this type of challenge isn't very appealing to me. It is very appealing though if you just like to play through the game on elite difficulty and you want to get everything done, because there's some people who are not interested with the other set of challenges, which is the Reaper mode challenges. There are 2 different rewards that you get from playing in Reaper mode. First reward is earned at getting 10 Reaper points or 100,000 Reaper XP. It's a special cloak for Reaper mode. It's very similar to level 20 cloak, and it looks really cool. I'm excited to get this one. I'm about halfway there right now with 50,000 points myself, but it's a really neat cloak, and hopefully a lot of people will be able to take that one home. And the second reward is for getting 20 Reaper points or 400,000 Reaper experience, which is the Reaper pet. Now, I'm assuming that the Reaper pet is going to be visible to other people, and this is kind of neat. I have a lot of pets, so I'm not too concerned about actually acquiring the Reaper pet, but I do think it's kind of cool. I'll probably get it and just have it show it off and be like, hey guys, check it out. I got 20 Reaper points on the hardcore server. Finally, the last reward is that there is in fact a leaderboard. There's a leaderboard for the most favor and a leaderboard for the most Reaper experience. So you might earn yourself that 400,000 Reaper XP, but if you want to get #1 spot, you need to make sure you're also beating out everybody else. Climbing to the top of the leaderboard is a very difficult challenge. However, when you're actually on the leaderboard, once the servers are finished, into the Hall of Heroes, there's going to be a plaque that will be placed, and you'll be able to see the leaderboard immortalized with all of the different players' names and what they did. So the rewards are pretty good. I am disappointed that the eyes don't really work on the Azamar, and it is also kind of unfortunate that the Reaper footprints don't show for other characters, and especially considering it's the favorite reward, it is quite a disappointment. However, hopefully maybe something will change, I don't know, but it is interesting that they have different rewards for it. And the most important thing is that all these rewards are cosmetic. You don't actually get like a special tome or some type of character reward. It's all cosmetic. Now, important to know is that all these rewards transfer across to all the servers. You just go into a regular server and talk to Mortality, who will be in the Hall of Heroes, and you can redeem these rewards on any server. If they do another hardcore league, I don't know how that's going to stack. Maybe then they'll have a Mortality, who'll have a menu for season 1 or season 2 or season 3 if they end up doing more of these, but we'll have to see as it goes on. Speaking of which, a lot of people ask me on stream, they say, Streamtom, are they going to do the hardcore league again, or is this just a one-time thing? Well, it depends on a whole bunch of things. The first is the player base and how it affects the player base. The hardcore league is a very different experience, and dying in a video game and losing all your progress is really disheartening and disappointing. I'm sure you've all had that experience. You've been playing Skyrim for like 6 hours and you're doing something, and then all of a sudden you accidentally slip and fall off of High Hrothgar, and then oops, down you go. But it's okay, I saved, like 4 hours ago, and you lose all that progress. You pick up and just go back where you left off? Probably not. You put down the game, you maybe throw your PlayStation out the window, and you decide I'm going to do something else for the day. So it really depends on what the retention rates look like. If people are continuing to play on the hardcore league, and then they end up going back to the regular servers, and they go back to the hardcore league and back to the regular servers, and there's more people playing and people are still interested in the hardcore league, then I definitely think that there's a good opportunity for this thing to come back. However, if instead people are ending up going from the main servers to the hardcore league, which means there's less people playing on all the individual main servers, so it's harder to find groups, so the people on the main servers start to get frustrated, and then they don't want to play, so they stop playing, and the people in the hardcore league go to the hardcore league, they end up dying a few times and getting frustrated and not being interested to go back to regular DDO, and then they stop playing. That would be a huge problem, because at the end of the day, you know, Danielstone Games is a for-profit company, and they have to make money, and that's another point. Is there money in all these things? Before the hardcore league came out, a lot of people were really worried. Oh my gosh, the leaderboard's going to be dominated by these people that buy tomes and potions and all sorts of stuff. However, if you check the leaderboard right now, it's been almost an entire month, and to tell you the truth, as it turns out, there aren't a lot of people hitting really high numbers on any of these leaderboards. Yes, people have completed the favorite leaderboards, but basically nobody's even hit the 20 Reaper point reward, and it makes me think that a lot of these people aren't buying tomes and potions. People were concerned about the competitive integrity because of all the people that would be spending money, but it looks like people aren't spending that much money, and that could also be an issue for this league. If it doesn't increase spending, because if people think, oh, my character isn't permanent, so I'm not going to buy the tomes, I'm not going to spend the money, then that could actually impact the overall finances of this whole league. And finally, just the general feeling. If during the league they gather a bunch of feedback that says, hey, a lot of people aren't interested, a lot of people don't want this, a lot of people don't want to see this again, that's a very similar problem, where if people say they don't really want it, or they felt like they had a negative experience on the server, then it might also be an issue. So at the end of the day, all these things need to work out. The player base needs to stay there, and people need to actually continue to play both the hardcore server and the regular server. The money needs to be there. They need to be getting more VIP subscriptions, and people need to be spending their cash for it to be worth it, and people need to not hate the entire idea behind the server. If all those things happen, they might do it again. And if they did, what would I change about it? Well, as somebody who plays a lot of Path of Exile and Path of Exile Hardcore with their different leagues, one of my favorite parts about that game is that every single time they do a new league, they add something or they change it. So that is something I would like to see coming to the hardcore league. I would like to see it if they did this again, that they modified something within the game. Whether it is changing the Reapers, changing the number of Reapers, maybe it's adding some type of difficulty modifier to make all the monsters move faster, or to do something, just something in general that would make it a little bit more exciting. Even if it's basic, just something that changes up the regular gameplay flow. I'm not sure how many times in a row I could just decide, all right, I'm going to grind out from 0 up to cap again with doing the exact same thing on regular servers. This time it's really fun because of the novelty. The next time it might just be tedious. So hopefully something else would be able to come in and change up the gameplay even a little bit. I'm not asking for an entirely new mechanic. I'm just asking for, maybe the monsters, every monster is a champion. That could be a fun idea for a mechanic. Just something to make it a little bit more exciting on the league. The next thing I would change is probably removing normal and hard difficulty altogether from the hardcore server. One of my issues with normal and hard difficulty is I feel like it kind of removes the idea behind the hardcore server. I did the Temple of Elemental Evil on hard difficulty, and on hard, it was very, 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 very easy. It was almost impossible to fail. The monsters had basically no health. They only spawned in packs of 2 or 3 instead of like 15 guys in a group, and the bosses had no HP. Versus on Elite difficulty, there's 15 guys and they're champions and they do all sorts of crazy stuff. Or on Reaper mode where there's Reapers everywhere. Removing normal and hard difficulty, I think, is something that would kind of streamline the population and also make sure that people are playing the content at the very least on Elite difficulty. The minimum difficulty, I think, should be on the hardcore server for something that is called hardcore. This is not to be disparaging about people that leveled through the game on normal or hard and then got all the way to level 20 to get their cloak. I like that as an option, but I still think that especially for something like the favor rewards and just the idea behind the server, remove normal and hard, just make it Elite and Reaper difficulty. And finally, the thing I would change the absolute most about the league for next league is to make it so the leaderboard has numbers. I have no idea how this change didn't happen. I don't know who was responsible for this, but for some reason, the leaderboard doesn't have numbers on it. So you don't know what your position is, which seems crazy because you're supposed to be measuring yourself against other people. It's supposed to be a competition. I can't say I'm 5th on the leaderboard because I have to take my hand out and put it on my screen and then physically count my way down to find my name. And I have to do that every time. It's cool as a content creator to be able to update people and say, hey guys, check it out. This build that I wrote for you is actually working and it gets me to X place on the leaderboard. But why do I have to count it out? There definitely should have been numbers. Just even more formatting to make the leaderboard look nice. It looks like, you know, just using the basic default font or whatever in the software that was being used, and it just doesn't look very pretty. Also, make it so the leaderboard is available offline. It makes no sense that only the people on the hardcore server can actually see the leaderboard. It'd be really cool if you could just go onto DDO.com and there'd be a section for hardcore and you could see the leaderboard, you could see top players, you could see other stuff, because one, it's cool because it allows people to feel like a sense of accomplishment, because people can know what they're doing, and anyone else can keep in touch with the race. If you happen to play on a non-hardcore server, why would you care about what's happening on the hardcore server, especially if you're not VIP, you can't even see who's playing. It just seems weird to me, and I wish that that's something that gets changed in the future. So, to answer the question, how good is the hardcore league? It's awesome. It's amazing. It's super fun. It provides a totally different sense of gameplay. It puts you back at square one, just with everybody else, working on gear, finding groups. The rewards are cool, and this time not too fatiguing, and it's an exciting challenge. There are definitely some things that they need to do going forward, but so far for this first hardcore league, I would say overall the population is fantastic, and it is a great time to jump in and play. Even a month in, the population is still very strong, which is not something that happens in a lot of other hardcore games. So I think DDO really nailed it with some of the feeling of the gameplay, but I think that overall what they need to do is now kind of sharpen it up, fine-tune some of the edges, and make it so it's a lot more fun. So if you haven't tried the hardcore difficulty, you do have to subscribe and become VIP, but you should do that. Get subscribe, become VIP, and join in hardcore today. Now, speaking of subscribing to Dungeons & Dragons Online, you should subscribe to me. If you like the content that I make here on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. Just click that button that's right there. Also, if you happen to like what I do and you're like, man, this would be kind of cool if I could watch StrimTom talk really quickly and play the game at the same time and kind of go off on a tangent about cheeseburgers or something at different fast food restaurants and comparing them. Well, guess what? You can join my Twitch stream with the link just below. And if you want to keep up to date with all the things StrimTom, follow me on Twitter or join my Discord channel so you can keep up to date and know what it is I'm doing at any given moment. Finally, if you like the content that I'm doing, please feel free to subscribe to me on Twitch so that way I can make some money, because it is September and we get half price subs right now, because this is going to be my full-time job and I'm trying to make sure I can do this as best as possible. Also, I have a link to a Patreon account just below in the description, so if this is something that interests you and you like the kind of content that I do, please think about signing up and becoming a patron today, so that way you can make sure you're always going to be getting the freshest, coolest Dungeons & Dragons Online content out there. Anyway, that's everything I have for you guys, so I hope everyone is having a fantastic day and having a great time on the hardcore server. I am really enjoying it, and it is just super fun to run around and fight all sorts of crazy monsters and have that specter of death looming over my shoulder. I will say one of the most exciting things about the hardcore server is just finding out that a guy you played with 20 minutes ago or an hour ago is now in a different party, and then all of a sudden you see their death be announced right across the top of the screen. Wow, it's just heartbreaking, but also just makes you think death could come for me at any time, you know? I don't know. Anyways, as always, catch you later.